Welcome back in. Scott Beeson, Yellowhammer Radio. Mike, Ken, John, I see you on the line, but you're getting bumped. My good friend is calling in. Mr. Cliff Sims, how are you, my brother?
Scott, what's going on in Alabama?
Oh, man, we're just living the dream down here in God's country. How about
I don't
yourself?
know. Is there any real news to talk about?
I mean,
hey, Cliff, I'm here too.
We're talking college football down here, Cliff.
College talking important. That's way more important than anything going on up here where I'm at. I can promise you that.
Absolutely. So I guess you probably stayed up all night last night. My wife swears she thinks she saw you at the standing beside Senator Sessions on.
I was looking for him in the crowd, but
last night. We don't know if that was you or not. It was a debate about whether or not it was your beard or not.
I did. I was by Senator Sessions a good bit last night. I think the coolest thing though was standing right next to Mr. Trump and watching the returns come in.
Oh, that's cool.
Just hearing all the phone conversations, people calling him, and he's kind of superstitious though. He doesn't. Even when people call him and saying congratulations, he'd cut them off and say, "Oh, we're not there yet." He kept saying, we're 2 strokes up with 1 hole to go. Like he wouldn't, even when it was clear. I mean, it's fascinating to watch. Like, the constant comms alerts coming in to our phones from our data team and everything like that said, here's New York Times starts you at, 18% chance of winning the presidency. And then, the returns start coming in, it starts creeping up, and then it's in the 60s. And then at one point, New York Times says you have a 92% chance of becoming the next president of the United States. And it's just fascinating to watch that reality set in for him and for the family and for everybody who's been working on this campaign. So just a really cool experience. And I think a vindication of everything that Mr. Trump and Senator Sessions and others have been saying for months and years now, that there's just a giant population of people all over the country who are so frustrated with the political process that they had kind of checked out and weren't participating. And finally, they felt like they had a candidate on the ticket that was worth getting out and voting for. And we just saw record voter registration, record turnout in a lot of places. And I don't know what these pollsters are going to do, but they're going to probably need to be finding a new line of work, if I had to guess.
I think so.
Absolutely. I think Mr. Trump or Donald Trump was he said some things in the last few days. He's been saying for months about that this was not all about him. It was about a movement, and he had the brilliance to actually, I'm not going to say get in front of a wave, but it was clear from the very beginning that he was just part of the wave. And I think the reason people were drawn to hhim was because he was saying the very things that regular Americans have been saying, and how the establishment missed that, I don't know. I want to let the listeners know I did send you a text yesterday or the day before talking about the good job that y'all have done up there. He has stayed very, very focused, but he has talked about the same things that he's talked about the entire campaign, and people just finally were saying, you know what, we're gonna give that a chance. This is what we've been talking about, and this is the way we can get there. And I can't say enough about what he did and the job y'all have done.
Well, all the credits to him on that, and it's just been ridiculous reading some of the news reports and people claiming, oh, the staff has taken away his Twitter account, and it's like they were just completely making stuff up. I mean, I can tell you one thing for 100% certainty: if the story says sources say, just quit reading, because it's just like pretty much completely made up. But to your point, about him making this not about himself, but about this movement, I think it really can be summed up in the fact that Hillary Clinton's slogan was, "I'm with her," and Donald Trump was all about, "I'm with you, I'm with the voters, and this is about us." And I thought the tone that he struck in his victory speech last night was exactly what the country needed. I mean, no matter which side of this election that you've been on, it's been extraordinarily divisive and difficult election, and it's really, it's been a tough, 16, 18 months that we've gone through. And he came out yesterday and said, whether you voted for me or not, I'm ready to be the president of all Americans, and let's come together here and get this country back on track. 70+% of the voters in the exit polls yesterday said they felt like the country was on the wrong track, and they were ready for change. And I think that's really the storyline: is they they voted for a man, yes. They voted for a movement, yes. But really, what they voted for, bottom line, was change. And I think that's what we're seeing here in Trump Tower today, is the transition team getting together and preparing to, and they've been preparing for months, but preparing now to put people in place who are going to be able to implement this change that we've all been so hungry for so long.
You know, Cliff, I just want to come in here and say I really appreciate Trump's acceptance speech. I thought it was well done. It was graceful. It was humble, and he acknowledged it was, there was nothing about all him. It was about the people, and he did a great job, I thought.
Yeah, interesting on kind of behind the scenes on that. There were several different, versions of the speech that had been written, and the vision that Mr. Trump has casted in all of his speeches. I mean, this is, a lot of these folks hire a ton of speech writers, and they're just kind of reading whatever's on the screen. I mean, this has like been he's known this whole time what he wanted to say, and it was incumbent on the communication staff here to, help craft that and put that together. But it was all him driving that. Last night, when he's kind of superstitious, like he wouldn't look at draft copies of the speech until it was, it was positive that he was about to win. And he said, hold on, I think I know what I want to say here. And so he actually revised it, in the hour before he went back up on stage.
Really?
And so again, just like the guy knows, he's got an incredible vision and knows what he wants to say, and went up there and delivered it, and I think proved a lot of people wrong when they were constantly criticizing him for his temperament and who knows what he's going to do, and he's going to be the most divisive president in history, and crazy things like that they say. And it's been funny watching the media freak out over the last 18 hours. But last night, I think you're right, Andre, and I'm glad it came through that way, because that's really what he wanted in his heart, for people to really feel what it sounds like you felt when you heard him speak.
Oh, absolutely.
He came across as very genuine, and it was funny. I stayed up till 3:30 last night. I was following the New York Times, what I call the speedometer. I came up last night and helped do the WYDE election coverage with the whole family here, and we were using the New York Times, and I have to give them credit. They did a fantastic job, and they were way ahead of what the cable networks were reporting, and it was clear that even at Fox News, they were hoping beyond hope that there were just some boxes not opened at some precinct in Pennsylvania. I mean, anything. It was like, how long can they drag this out? And when it occurred to them that you could tell when they knew, even though they weren't reporting it, you could tell when they knew that Mr. Trump had won, because even Megyn Kelly's eyes got really big. I mean, there was just one moment where they got really big, and you knew, and then her tone started changing, that you knew that they knew, even though they weren't going to report it. But it was interesting, and I want to ask you, because I think Donald Trump is genuinely concerned about the future of America. That came through last night, and I think part of his fire and the things that people pointed at to say he was quote-unquote unstable was because he really genuinely cares. It's not wrestling for him. And they wanted to say how great it would be if he had been lying to the American people the whole time. That's what they basically wanted to say. If he will just not do the things he promised his voters, then everything will be fine. And, my question to you is, don't you believe that Donald Trump plans to do what he says he was going to do?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really explicit about, here's what I'm going to do in the first 100 days in office. Here's what I'm going to do on the first day in office. And I think one of the things that's not getting talked about a lot right now, but it's going to be become more evident how important it is in the coming months, is the fact that Republicans were able to maintain control of the Senate, a slim majority, but a majority nonetheless in the Senate, and a strong majority in the House. And so voters were pretty clear last night what they want. And now having a president coming in with who's a strong leader, we're looking forward to working close with Congress on a lot of these policy priorities. But I think they finally got someone who can, as a standard bearer at the top of the Republican Party, who is going to grab the battle flag and lead from the front. And so it's an exciting time to be a Republican, mere years after all the pundits had basically said it was going to be impossible for Republicans to be a national party for much longer. The path to the White House is just narrowed to the point that it's next to impossible. And Trump basically completely realigned the electoral map. I mean, if you had told people that the Republican, 6 months ago even, if you said the Republican is going to win the White House because he's going to win Pennsylvania. And Michigan.
Correct.
67,000 point votes.
You would have got laughed out. You would have got laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
But I think it's a couple of things. It's trade, a powerful message on trade that really resonated with a lot of those old Reagan Democrats, people who have been victims of the fact that 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 manufacturing jobs in this country have basically disappeared as a result of the trade policies of both Republicans and Democrats over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, we talked about a stat yesterday, Cliff. There's over 9 million more government employees than there are manufacturing jobs in this country.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is absolutely amazing. There was something that was I was wanting to ask about, and it's just I was listening to you, and it's totally escaped me. Andrea?
Well, I just wanted. I looked at the actual statistics on Pennsylvania because I was watching that state closely because we lived there, and he won by 67,000 point lead or vote lead, and and that's with all the cheating that we know went on in Pittsburgh and Philly. The people really came out, and I was so pleased to see that.
I want to get your thoughts, Cliff. Or go ahead. I got another question.
No, go ahead. Ask away. You're the boss man right now.
I was saying that Donald Trump. You said Donald Trump has kind of broken the mold. I mean, he's won in states that Republicans weren't ever supposed to win in again, and I see this as an opportunity. Donald Trump has the ability, partially because the media put the bar down so low. But if Donald Trump goes out and does the things he says he's going to do, and he shows, I think it was interesting that they're saying about 30% of the Hispanics in the United States still voted for Donald Trump.
Yes,
which was not supposed to even be possible. But one morning, people are going to wake up, and it's the politically correct term, people of color are going to wake up and realize that Donald Trump has not reinstituted slavery. He has not sent anybody and everybody who's Hispanic, legal Hispanics, everybody, he has not kicked them out of the country. He will not do all these crazy things he is going to be accused of. And if Republicans and conservatives do a good job of pointing out, hey, look, we're trying to govern for everyone, just like Donald Trump said he would be, I think there's an opportunity here to break the stranglehold that the Democrats have had on minority populations, maybe forever, because they have been told the worst of the worst was happening starting this morning.
Yes.
Well, so I think what we saw here is a lot of minority voters not listening to what the pundits had to say, but instead listening to what Donald Trump himself had to say. For instance, how many Republicans would have gone to Detroit and delivered a speech about urban renewal mere weeks before Election Day and highlighting things like school choice and, safe, making our communities safer? I mean, no matter what color you are or socioeconomic status or any of that stuff, we all kind of want a few core things.
Yes.
We need a job. We need to be able to put food on the table and provide for our families. We want the opportunity to give our children a better life, and leave them a better country that we inherited, and we need safety and security. And Mr. Trump went into some of these communities that Republicans have ignored, and frankly, Democrats have ignored. If there wouldn't have been an opening there if Democrats had not ignored them for years after years. They come around every 4 years and ask for their vote, and then ignore them when they're in office. And Mr. Trump went in there and delivered a message that really resonated with a lot of those people, and they came out and voted for him on Election Day. So it's really exciting. I'm about to have to run here at the tower and jump into a meeting, but I wanted to make sure to give you guys a call, and missing the whole Yellowhammer family down there, and obviously appreciate Alabama's support for the campaign. And actually, just Senator Sessions was here up a few minutes ago, and he said to make sure to tell everybody down there how much he appreciated Alabama's support, and we couldn't be prouder to be representing Alabama up here.
Absolutely. Hey, Cliff, I'm not asking you, but a caller just called in, said, what position are you taking with the Trump administration is the question.
I look forward to being back in Alabama later.
We
that's
miss
right.
you, Cliff.
We
Thanks
got
for
to take a
calling.
break. That's Cliff Sims from Yellowhammer Radio, Yellowhammer News, et cetera, and the Trump campaign. We'll be right back.
This is Yellowhammer Radio.